Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Crafty Concepts with Erin. Today I have a double page layout for you. Today we're going to be using the Country Woods wood grain paper pack here. I am really enjoying this. I've already created a layout and this is in the annual catalog, so you're going to be seeing a lot of this wood grain paper from me. I have so many ideas I want to use this for. Today we're going to create an ocean themed layout. I've got several pictures. Do you recognize those two lovely ladies I'm standing with in the photo? This is Jama and Chelsea. They are both on the creative design team with me and teach classes, and they're also YouTubers, so you probably follow their channels. But we were on our Close to My Heart incentive trip just this last March 2024, and this was just a relaxing beach day. So there we are in the little palapa bed there and just some nice pictures of us hanging out there on the beach. So I'm very excited to be documenting this memory today. And I have a couple stamp sets for embellishments, Beauty of the Deep and Seaside Wishes. But I brought the catalog in because the Country Woods is a whole little collection here, or suite if you will. And here is the wood grain paper. There's 12 different papers, but in the same kind of color palette here, they have the country lace. And I have that on my wish list too. I think it's very pretty. But when I first saw this paper pack here, and I know I'm not alone because so many people are saying the same thing. Now I've already cut into this paper and created a layout over in our creative design team membership, but this just screams beach. It has beach vibe written all over it, as well as some of these other papers. But like I said, I love wood grains, so I am definitely going to be using a lot of wood grains, mixing and matching them with different paper collections. But let me clear this up. As I mentioned, this is a double page layout here. So I've got both of my Versamats. Now I think I'm going to build this on white cardstock. So I've got a couple pieces of white, and then let me grab my photos here. I've got 5 photos, and these are 4 by 5.5, and that does include the white frame. And so I've got 2 portrait style and then 2 landscape style, and then I cut this one into a 4x4. So these are very similar pictures. One's just kind of zoomed in, and then this one takes in the whole palapa bed. And same here, these are similar. And ordinarily, if I have a gazillion photos, I would probably just pick my favorite of the two, but I had too many for a single page, so I have room to bring in added photos, even though they are similar. But this one's like taken in portrait mode, so the background's all blurry, and this one isn't. So, you know, I like having them both. So I'm a little bit limited because I only have this pattern paper left because I already used the other portion of these 12 by 12 sheets for my first layout. So these are 5 inches by 12, both of them are. So I could do something, you know, there's lots of things I could do having 2 pieces. Whatever I do on one side, I always like to repeat that pattern on the other side. And I could do something like this where I have them on the outside edge, or I could do a linear line across the center. So that's kind of, you know, something I'm going to consider to start. And let's see, let's just put these here for now and see how this goes. So I've got this one. This is kind of my favorite photo here. So I like to put my favorite photo on the left-hand side. I don't necessarily know why. Everybody's looking straight on, so these don't necessarily have a direction of left to right. We could do something like this. And this gives you room for, you know, embellishments, a title. We could put journaling here. And then with these photos, you could kind of stack these like this and then have this one in this situation here. You could bump it down and that would give you room. So that kind of creates that triangular flow. We could go here, here, and here. So that's one idea. If you don't, you know, if this is difficult for you to start from scratch, I always recommend starting with a sketch, or, you know, look at a photograph of a layout on Pinterest that catches your eye and maybe start there, because that gives you some direction and helps you take the guesswork out of it and can, you know, speed up the process for you so you're not hemming and hawing with all the possibilities. Now, I definitely do not want these two on the same page because they are so similar. So I do want to break those up. We could do something like this, or we could even create a line with these here. Do you see how these are all kind of on the same line? And then these create a column. So that's another possibility. Now I could very easily bring in any of these pattern wood grain patterns to add a second pattern paper, but what I think I'm going to do is add some Glacier cardstock. I've been pairing Glacier with this collection, and if you have mint, that goes quite nicely also. The color in here is Pool Party, so if you have Stampin' Up cardstock, it's Pool Party, or if you don't have Close to My Heart cardstock and you need coordinating colors, the Pool Party is this one here. So I am thinking, we've already got these matted on or printed with the white border, so what if we brought in a strip of the Glacier color behind our photos? That definitely makes the white border pop. And you know what else we could do? We have enough of this paper. Let's just kind of eyeball it. We could cut them into even more, narrower strips and have a little bit of that pattern up top. So that gives us a nice balance of colors, so it's not so bottom heavy. I think I like that. I'm going to cut these down and I will be right back. Okay, so I have two of the Glacier cardstock pieces that are 7 inches by 12. And that gives me nice room. We have the color showing above and below the photo. Remember, this is a 5.5-inch photo. It's not a full 6-inch photo. So something to keep in mind if yours is a full true 4x6. And then I had a 5-inch, strip of the pattern to work with. Let me grab the other one. So just to save as much pattern paper as I could, I cut, these are each an inch for the top portion. So 1 inch by 12. And then that left me with 3 inches. So I divided it in half, and now I have 1.5 by 12. And I was, thinking it might look kind of nice to have it a bit thicker on the bottom versus the top. So that's kind of why I did that. And I think this is coming together quite nicely. Very minimal pattern paper, and it is totally going to work here. So I will get all of those lined up perfectly perfectly. Is there perfection in scrapbooking? I don't know. I'm not a perfectionist. As long as it looks straight, I'm happy. So we're just going to lay those out for now. And I do want to ink up the edges. So that is looking good. There are a lot of gray tones in this paper, so I am going to use charcoal to ink up the edges. And as I mentioned, we were on our Close to My Heart trip. We went down to the Riviera Maya in Mexico, and this was kind of a down day. It was the last day before we were going home, and we had been going on a lot of excursions and just having tons of fun, go, go, go. So it was really nice to just relax and listen to the sound of the waves and visit here on the beach. And it was, just a really great way to end the trip. Chelsea has used this same paper and documented photos from the same day, so you should definitely check out her video for even more ideas. I'm going to go ahead and use a removable glue dot to adhere this to my verse mat because I want to make sure it's straight. That way when I go to adhere all my paper strips, everything is lined up. I do want to show you how easy it is to flip a pattern. If I were going to use this orientation, I would want my stripe paper to be even on the left and right, but you could have two photos and kind of place them in this orientation here and then put your title above or below. There's so many different ways that you can manipulate a pattern. I am going to run them all the way across. I just wanted to give you a look at that as an alternative idea. I thought bringing in a darker gray would look nice to make these photos pop a little bit more. This is charcoal. There are 2 grays listed in this paper collection. They are basic gray and gray granite. So again, if you have charcoal, this pairs quite nicely, and if not, those are the other coordinating colors. I went ahead and cut a photo mat, very thin photo mat for each of my pictures, so they are double matted. We've got that nice white and then the darker background, and I think that does make a big difference to help those stand out. I'm just going to use my tape runner and adhere these down to their photo mats. So you don't have to go crazy. I like to go around the edges, and then on the larger ones, just one in the middle. We are almost ready for the fun embellishing. I'll go ahead and finish the rest of these photos off camera. And then I was thinking, ooh, we need a little sparkle. This is Melon glitter paper. And close to my heart, they call it glitter paper. Stampin' Up, they call it glimmer paper. So either way, it's the same thing. And it brings in that sparkle and shine. I've cut a tiny little 1/4-inch strip, and I'm going to just tuck these under here. This is my little trusty Cricut spatula. I love this thing. But this is going to just act as, you know, that definition where the two papers meet and add a ton of impact with all of that sparkle. It's probably not showing up as much on camera as it does in person, but it is so sparkly and pretty. For my title, I turned to my Cricut and chose the word beach day because that's what we were saying. We're like, oh, we need a beach day. So it just made sense to me. And after watching Chelsea's video, she cut out the outline for her title using this dreamy holographic paper from Close to My Heart. And it looks so pretty in her video. So I just had to try it. Now, holographic paper picks up the color, it reflects back the color of its surroundings. So I'm just not quite sure about it on my layout. It looks okay, but it's probably picking up. I'm wearing a bright green shirt and my walls are like robin's egg blue. So I think it's just picking up all those colors and just looks a bit too bright. So I'm actually going to skip that and not use that for a background. While I'm thinking about my title, I went ahead and die cut a bunch of these beautiful, intricate little embellishments here. Now, these pieces are from the Seaside Wishes stamp. The coordinating dies have these like standalone dies. So some of them coordinate with the stamps while others are standalone. And I did add that magnet to my case. They do not come that way. I will have the magnets I use listed in the description box below. Now this little beautiful coral is from the Beauty of the Deep. So again, you have outline dies to coordinate with the stamps and then standalone dies for mixing and matching. If you have Close to My Heart cardstock, I'm using Sapphire and Peach for my elements here. And if you need coordinating cardstock, you would want to go with Misty Moonlight or Petal Pink in lieu of these colors because those are the coordinating colors for that wood grain paper. So in addition to these die cuts, I am going to be bringing in some stamps. I've got the sand dollars here that I want to use. So let me just kind of tuck these out of the way for just a moment here, and we'll create some of these Seaside Wishes stamps. So there's the coordinating stamps, and I've already gone ahead and created like a little template. If you are mass producing die cuts, this is a very quick way to do this. So create like a little guide for them to sit in. And then you also have this embossing folder we're going to use. And this coordinating die kind of just, it doesn't like lock in, but it clicks in. You know, if it's not wiggling, you've got it in the right spot. And then you can just put the papers in and die cut and emboss all at once. So Chelsea showed in her video how to actually stamp and then die cut everything at one go. So definitely check that out. I want to die cut multiple pieces at once so I can layer up several layers of cardstock and then just pop them into this die cut template, if you will. This is a much faster method than stamping and then running it through your die cutting machine and then stamping and then die cutting, because now I can die cut multiple at once and then just repeat the stamping. You do need to have a stamping platform to use this technique. But again, if you're creating multiples, you want to create lots of cards or lots of embellishments, this is a very fun and quick way to create those. Now, these are supposed to look a little bit distressed, so that is how they stamp, and I quite like it. And then we're going to run them through the embossing folder, so not only will they be stamped, but they're going to have all of this gorgeous texture. I have to admit, I was pretty impressed the first time I got to see an embossing folder that does both embossing and die cutting at once. I thought, genius. These are fairly easy to line up, and again, Chelsea did this all in one go, so watch her video for an alternative method. And you don't have to pair the stamps with the embossing folder. The embossing folder is gorgeous all on its own, and I'll show you that here in just a moment. I will go ahead and run this through my embossing machine really quick. And you can see all of this just lovely dimensional texture, so pretty. But if you don't want to use the stamps, all you need to do is pop your die into the embossing folder and add your paper, run that through your machine, and then you get a different look. So I didn't quite get it to cut all the way over there on that smaller one on the left. I'm still messing with the pressures of my die cutting machine and figuring out my sandwich, but aren't those pretty? So you could add a little ink blending over the top of these to kind of highlight some of those raised edges, but just, yeah, a whole different way to use those products and get different looks. Let's go ahead and bring this back into frame and we can finish our embellishing here. These sand dollars were stamped on white paper using toffee ink. I'm going to layer some of them kind of over the top of the photo, and then some of the elements will be behind the photo. And we're just kind of mixing and matching and building up our clusters. So to create that third point, we're going to add a little interest on the lower corner of that photo. Now I was looking through my beach stamps, and this one here says life is better with friends, and I thought, well, that's kind of perfect. So I'm going to make a word sentiment strip to add to my cluster, and we'll just kind of stamp this at the very top of the paper in Melon ink. I'm a big fan of what I call sentiment strips or word sentiments. A lot of sticker sheets for scrapbooking have those already incorporated on them, but your stamps is a great way to customize your own. So I think it's fun to mix words with your embellishment clusters. This little sticker I found in my stash, and I thought, well, this is a good opportunity to use that up. So we just added it to the page, and I'm dovetailing the end of this just to make it a little bit more interesting. And then I'll tuck it up top above my photo, coming out from behind the little sand dollar there. While I was digging through my beach stamps, I also found this little kind of net type image, and I thought this might be fun to add to that favorite photo I have. So what I did is I created a template on a piece of scrap paper, and this is a good way to see how that is going to look stamped directly on the background. Or if you're scared, you can stamp and then just use this to tuck behind your photo. So I am using this little foam cushion for my stamp just to get a better impression. And again, we have our Sapphire ink, and I'm going to line this up underneath that photo kind of on the diagonal. So I'm just putting this back in so I can see exactly where my measurements are lining up on my Versamat there. One of my signature go-to moves is to add tags kind of coming out the top of the photos, but I thought let's do something different and use our stamps. So I moved my photo out of the way. I had it lightly tacked down, and this is so much easier than trying to mask off your photo and stamp around it. So we will just line these up here, give it a minute to soak in, and that turned out great. Let's bring that photo back in and see how it is looking. I like it. It's just a simple little detail, but I think it's fun. I've decided that my title wasn't standing out as much as I wanted, so I cut the offset from the Sapphire cardstock, and I think this is going to just help define those letters and make that pop off the background. I do like that, so I'll go ahead and get that glued down off camera, and then I cut a few more embellishments. These are the sea stars from the Seaside Wishes. I've stamped and die cut those out, and then we have this little kind of seaweed plant from the Beauty of the Deep, and I thought that would add some height to kind of frame in this photo over here on the corner. I have a lot of fun photos from this trip. I cannot wait to document. We did several excursions. One, we went down into an underwater cenote, so it's like this underwater cave. I did add some dimensional elements to the back side of these sand dollars, so I'm popping those up just a bit here. But anyway, I'm in the planning stages looking for what papers and embellishments I want to use, and I cannot wait to share all of those adventures with you. So back to the Seaside or the Beauty of the Deep stamp set, there's this little tiny stamp that can be used for bubbles or sand, or just like a splatter background stamp. So I am using it to kind of mimic bubbles. So we'll do just a couple around our embellishment clusters and maybe some over here, and then of course up in the top section there. I did go ahead and print out my journaling and cut those into strips. I do have a video showing exactly how I do that, and I'll leave that listed in the description box below as well. I'm realizing I don't have any blue in that lower right-hand corner, so I die cut this seashell using the Cape Cod card making workshop, and we're going to tuck that little guy right in there. And then I also found this little embellishment in my stash that says today was a great day, and it has waves on it. It's from an old collection called Regatta, so I just added that to finish off that photo. Let me hold that up so you can get a better look at that. You can see I also added some blue sequins to my clusters just for a little bit more sparkle and shine. Isn't that little bubble stamp cute? I love the texture that adds to the layout. All of my supplies are listed in the description box below, and I'd love it if you just take a moment to hit that thumbs up button. Thank you so much for doing that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're looking for more inspiration, then watch this one right here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you very soon.